I eat extra sharp. That's what I eat.
Honestly, Sam, if I could just get this sentence out, we can talk about Jimmy Dore can go and kill 15 kids tomorrow, and I still believe in force the vote. Honestly, Sam.
Get your words straight, Jack.
Force the vote, sure, was a failure. 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 Force the vote, sure, was a failure.
We've ended the war on American energy. We were in war. And we've ended the war on beautiful, clean coal, one of our great natural resources. Meeting with the Burmese executives. So this Burmese, they say, pronounce it Burmese. A real beautiful company.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes.
Running against the worst candidate, in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Could you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to imagine if I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate, 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 I 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 lost to the worst candidate in the history. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did.
I'm going to say I lost to the worst candidate. I lost to the worst candidate. I'm going to say I lost to the worst candidate. 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 I lost to the worst candidate in the history.
And he said, I'll meet you outside. My car, this is mostly, these were all the public housing behind it. My car, there was a gate on here. I parked my car outside the gate. And he said, I'll be waiting for you. He's waiting for 3 guys in straight racing. Not a joke. There's a guy named Bill Wright, the only white guy, and he did all the fools. He was the mechanic. And I said, what am I going to do? He said, come down here in the basement where the mechanics are, where all the pool over here. You know, the chain used to be a chain when the car, the deep end. And he cut off a 6-foot length of chain and pulled up and you walk out with that chain. And you walk to the car and said, you may cut me, man, but I'm going to wrap this chain around your head. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, if you don't come back. He was right. So I walked out with the chain.
I lost to the worst candidate.
And I walked up to my car.
And
then those days, you remember the straight race, you'd bang them on the curb, get them rusty. Remember the straight race, you'd bang them on the curb, 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 get them rusty, bang them on, bang them on, bang them on, bang them, bang them on the curb, bang them on the curb, bang them on the curb, bang them on, 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 him on the curb, get him rusty, put
pressure on me.
and I love kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. You'd bang them on the curb. You'd bang them on the curb. Bang them on the curb. Bang them on the curb. You'd bang them on the curb. Bang them on the curb. Bang them on the curb. Get them
pressure on me.
Learned about kids jumping on my lap. 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 Learned about kids jumping on my lap.
Maybe I'll have to leave.
Those days used to be out with the chain.
Running against
Those days used to remember the straight race. You'd bang them on the curb. 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 Get them rusty. Put them in a rain barrel. Get them rusty.
I gotta go. Let me respond. There's a lot to respond to here.
I'm not gonna
Let's get
feel
something
so
straight.
good. Maybe I'll
You
have
shouldn't
to
be
leave the
disappointed.
country.
What I've done so far is more than anybody else has done this.
Running against the
Okay?
worst candidate.
Number two,
in the history of-
I mean what I say when I say it.
I'm not going to feel.
I mean what I say when I say
They're
it.
coming all over.
I'm the only person
They're coming all over.
who's ever run
They're coming all over the
on
place.
free platform.
They're coming all over.
The words of
place.
presidents
They're
matter.
coming all over.
The words of presidents
They're coming
matter.
all over the
The
place.
words of presidents
They're coming all
matter.
over the place.
The words of
They're coming
presidents
all over
matter.
the place.
The words
They're
of
coming
presidents
all over
matter.
the place.
The
They're
words
coming
of
all over
presidents
the place.
matter.
Everybody
Nobody
comes in,
else.
your grandmother, your father, your mother,
Guys,
your
the doctor's
brother,
thrown
your
out.
cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy.
At the same time, the vaccine is one of the greatest achievements of mankind.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. Those votes were put there a number of hours before.
In case you don't know, and you haven't seen the latest polls, the American people hold the President of the United States in contempt. They hold this
Joe Brandon, I agree.
in contempt. They hold the Republican Party in contempt. They hold the Democratic Party in contempt. They think that maybe, given all of the crises facing this country, it's about time that there was some bold leadership here and that this institution made some hard choices.
Goddamn, so there's a show. I'm gonna show you the show. I got a show here. It's I gotta set it up first. You know, you always think about like, okay, I do like this long, drawn out, no one likes it 10-minute introductory sequence so that people can join the stream, get in, get on, get off maybe, I don't know. And you'd think I have 10 minutes to get ready for the show. You'd think, oh, that's a great, 10 minutes of show prep. Let's get, but no, instead I just I'm doing the whole thing with the audio and all that. So I never set up. I'm not set up. I won't set up. I refuse to set up. I'm never going to set up. It's not going to happen. But what will happen at some point in time, for those of you that are wondering, yes, today's another extreme coffee day. I've had a lot of coffee today. And I'm not even done. I've still got half my coffee left. And I'm on drugs. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm drugged up. I'm drugged on. And I got a show. I'm wearing layers, as you can see. So, in case people are wondering why I'm wearing the same shirt as yesterday, it's because I've got layers. There's a lot of layers going on. So, yes. But yeah, I am. Yes, that's true. Many things are happening, but I'll get into that one later at the end of the show. But it's true, folks. It's true. What they say about me is true. I am the greatest streamer in the history of streamers. Don't know what else to tell you. But what I do know what to tell you, what I've identified. Actually, I've identified. Hold on. Hold the phone. I'm holding the phone there. I'm actually spinning the phone. But I've identified something that I can talk about, and that's the fact that the January 6th coverage that I did last year is finally being uploaded to the Patreon. So far, I've got 4 parts up. I'm going to be uploading parts 5, 6, 7, and 8 onto the Patreon today. So if you want to start watching, if you already did start watching, check it out. I'm using a website called 3Speak, and sometimes 3Speak takes a little bit to load. So that's a thing that happens. So someone told me that, one of the videos didn't work. I recommend just opening it up in a different tab or in a different browser, and it should work, because I've never had any problem with the website that opening it up in a different browser hasn't fixed. Sometimes I don't know. But anyway, that's a thing. So if you want to watch it, so far I've edited all the way up to parts 1 through 8, but there's still a little bit more. It's probably going to be like 12 in total, I think, maybe 11, not sure. And so check it out on the Patreon. If you would like access to the Patreon, you can give me money on Patreon, $1. That's all I require. And so as you can see, I'm still not getting anywhere close to the Bad Faith podcast. It's not working out. It seems that now imagine this scenario, right, where I work my goddamn butt off to do this goddamn show, and I'm making less money than a confirmed pedophile. That's a problem. So you got to subscribe to my Patreon so that I can make more money than the Bad Faith podcast, because as it stands right now, that's no good. But anyway, folks, we've got a show here. I've got a show. You've got nothing. You have nothing in your life to hold your hat on. You've got nothing. You are nothing. You will never be anything because you're nothing. But I, on the other hand, am something, and what I am is a show person. I'm doing a show. I've got a show. I've got the show. And so that's a show for me. I've got the show. And so I just saw the most insane news story. Some dude in us. Can you DM that to me on Twitter? I would love to talk about that. That sounds epic. Goddamn. So become a patron. Patronize me. If you'd like to patronize me, you can do so on patreon.com. And you can patronize me. I love to be patronized. I live for the patronization. I live to patronize others, and I live to be patronized. So you can patronize me today. And you also, now you're getting benefits. You're getting actual bang for the buck. We're going to bang them on the curb and get them rusty, and then throw them in a straight razor. I don't know whatever the quote is. Folks, for those of you that don't know, I don't know if I shared the other one that I did, but I've been getting into art recently. This has been a thing that's been developing. So, I want to show the art that I've done over the last couple of days. I've been doing some art, folks. I'm getting into the artistry. I've become artistic, and I've been scanning my art and posting them on Twitter. So I did this drawing yesterday because I was watching the January 6th coverage that I was doing while I was editing it and uploading it all day. So I was like, let's draw a photo of my experience on January 6th. So this is some art that I drew. It's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I like it. I had fun drawing the art. I'm getting into art, folks. It's art. I don't know what to tell you. I think it's pretty good. You can disagree. That's fine. I mean, you can give me some constructive feedback, but I got some art here. But then I also drew some art the other day as well when I had the letter hack on. And so I drew this art. And so this is also some pretty good art. This is, of course, the letter hack telling us all to look at it. That being Colorado, the entire state of Colorado being on fire. So pretty good art. And I'm going to do some more art. Matt says in the chat, Andrea's art uses negative space, white areas, in a highly creative manner. You think so? I don't know what that means. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Do I use, it's just why, should I color in the grass or something? Why do that when I could just not do that? And then so we got the art here. But I got some colored Sharpies. This is what I'm working with. I'm working with some colored Sharpies. And now that I'm working with -1. So we got some colored Sharpies. And so look at that. Now that's incredible. So I've been getting into some art. They just fell out of my hands. I don't. Anyway, so I've got some art that I'm doing. I'm doing some art. I'm getting into the art. And so yeah, no, everyone, for sure. This is the official look at it segment. That's true. That's true. Hold up. Let me get the sound effect. That's so true.
You look at it! 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 I want all of you to look at it!
There you go. So we're looking at it, folks. Got some art going on. Doing some art. For the January 6th art piece, I just like took a bunch of different things that happened and just mashed them up a little bit. I didn't draw the gallows because I didn't quite know how I could do it, so I just kind of didn't do it. What you don't draw matters as much as what you do draw. See, now that I agree with. I agree with that. There was a Virgil sighting. Check my DMs. Oh, fuck. But yes, I would like to say that Matt in the chat, when we had that one show where we were drawing people, that was my inspiration, folks. So I'm just saying, I've been inspired. I've conspired. And now I'm doing art. So maybe one of these days, maybe I'll sell the art online. Would anyone want to buy my art? If you want to buy my art, feel free to make an offer. Like, can we do some bidding wars? Maybe I'll mint some NFTs of my art, folks. Anyone like art? Love art. So let me... There's something going on here. What is that? That's just like an image. That's just like an image from a video that's like a year ago. But like the tweet is from yesterday. I don't think that that's a real sighting. I'm denying that. Man sets himself on fire. I mean, that's one way to do it, right? Like, honestly, that's pretty awesome. We got Max the dog in the background, folks. He's woofing it up. Art is life. That's true. I like art. Huge fan of art. We got Max the dog. Max, you want to come on the show? You want to say hi? You want to say hello? We got a dog. Maxie was cuddling me last night during the sleeping time. He's putting his paws on top of me. This freaking dog. You gotta stay warm. We gotta stay warm. We gotta stay warm. We gotta stay warm. All right, let's talk about this. This is a good story. Trans pride flag planted on Antarctica's highest peak to celebrate community's resilience, folks. This happened a couple days ago, and I thought it was a good story, so I want to talk about it. So let's go. The trans pride flag has been planted on the peak of Antarctica's highest mountain, Vinson Massif, by trans climber Erin Parisi, dedicating her achievements to the resilience of the trans community that took me in when I had no hope. Parisi said trans people showed me that it's better to be visible and free than live in a self-imposed exile, and that stigma withers when we visibly embrace our truth. So this is some pretty good stuff. Let's zoom in so that the text is bigger. Parisi added in an Instagram post, "We've been pushed down, often even beat up, and faced every kind of coldness through our lives. Our resilience keeps us rising to the top." She reached the 4,892 Metri summit of Vinson Massif on 26 December after setting off for Antarctica on 18 December. I'm just petting this dog. Hold up. Let me change the camera angle so you can see more Max. Reaching the highest point in Antarctica as part of Parisi's years-long attempt to be the first openly trans woman to complete the 7 summits, a mountaineering challenge to climb to the highest point of each of the planet's 7 continents. Antarctica's Vinson Massif was Parisi's 5th peak of the 7 summits. She still has Mount Denali in Alaska and Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world, left to go. So wishing her all the best on that one. And that's super cool. So, huge W, folks. It's happening. Huge W. Look at this dog. Y'all, I love this dog. Hi. What's your name? Doggy doesn't speak English. Alright, there he goes. Off on his own adventure. Alright, so let's talk about this one, because this one's great. This is a really cool one. So, I've been saying this for a long time, folks. If you're an anti-vaxxer, if you're an anti-masker, if you don't think the COVID pandemic's real, if you're one of those freak shows, I suggest... Well, let me just read the story. Let's just put it this way, alright? There are 2 possible outcomes. Either you go around and, you infect a bunch of people, kill innocent people for no reason, or you just cut out the middleman and get to the end scene. So let's just go. Australia, aggrieved by vaccine mandates. Man pours gasoline and sets himself on fire. Watch video. The man was eventually rescued by police officers and firefighters who extinguished the fire and rushed the victim to a hospital in an ambulance. A video of the incident has gone viral on social media. So he didn't even die. That's a shame. On Saturday, January 1, a man set himself ablaze in full public glare to protest against the vaccine mandates imposed by the government in Victoria in Australia. As per reports, the incident took place at Richmond at around 8:30 p.m. on New Year's Day. The unidentified man initially yelled against the coronavirus vaccine mandates in Victoria before pouring gasoline on himself and his car and setting them on fire. The man was eventually rescued by police officers. Just another example. ACAB, folks. ACAB. Just one more example in the list of examples of police just fucking us over at every turn. And firefighters who extinguished the fire and rushed the victim to a hospital in an ambulance. A video of the incident has gone viral on social media. Shocked bystanders pinned down the man as police and firefighters doused him with water and rushed him to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. I mean, again, folks, I don't even understand, let's keep going. While speaking about the matter, an eyewitness recounted his skin was burning, he was on fire, his skin was stuck to my shirt. Ugh. He was off his face screaming about mandates. Another witness to the incident of self-immolation, Lydia O'Connor, informed that the unidentified man had screamed about no vax idea and throwing books. What? He poured gas on himself and on his car. It was on purpose, she added. In December last year, Victoria's Health Ministry scrapped the mandatory vaccination requirement for customers in retail, with the exception of beauty and salon services. As such, individuals who wanted to visit non-essential retail stores, places of worship, below the age of 18 were barred. Okay. However, exceptions to the rule... So there was no vaccine mandate. Wait, is that what I'm reading here? Okay. Hold on. In December, Victoria's Health Ministry scrapped the mandatory vaccine requirement for customers. So there is no vaccine. So this guy set himself on fire to protest something that doesn't exist. Now that's epic, folks. That's epic. So shout outs to that guy. Really, putting one in there. What the fuck? What a fucking piece of garbage. And again, another example of all cops being bastards, once again. We got a dog here, folks. There is a Max on the screen. Max, are you eating something? What are you eating? He's just being licky. He's a licky hound. Folks, I have to get blood work today, presuming that I'm incapable. Like, I don't know what's going on when it comes, I always get nervous when it comes to blood work appointments because I live in North Carolina and the hospitals here really suck and they always fuck around with your records and they always fuck up. But anyway, so assuming that there's no problems, I'm going to get a needle jammed into my elbow, and I'm going to get, like, my life force stolen from me. So I'm not looking forward to that one. I'm very afraid of needles. And the last time I got boosted, I was very afraid of needles that whole time. And, so now I gotta get needled again. So I'm not feeling good about the needles. The needles are not, it's actually bad, these needles. And so, but I'm going to do them. I hope I don't get COVID at the hospital. I'm kind of worried about that. And, so that's just blogging. I'm allowed to blog. But, gotta get sticked. Gotta get stick and stucked. Gotta get stucked with a stick. Petting that dog. I did. I just got a box of N95s. You see that box right there? It's an Amazon box. Don't look at that part. But that box contains N95s and Quest protein cookies. So, I'm going to wear 2 of them. Anyway, let's get on with the news, folks. So I'd like to start this segment by saying, list of people that should be in jail right now. And so that list starts off with the director of the CDC. So here's a little bit of a, whoops, my bad. We totally fucked up, and now Omicron is uncontrolled spread all across the country, and there is no hope at all of ever controlling it ever, because the CDC sucks dick, and it's garbage, and it's shit on my shoes, and we fucked up big time. These are people that should be in jail. This is genocidal behavior that was exemplified by the CDC here. The director should be marched out in handcuffs for even thinking that it could possibly be a thing to do, to cut the quarantine isolation guidelines in half, and then also recommend people go back to work with a fever. Again, I want to remind everyone, before I read this article, I want to remind everyone the debacle at the CDC. They cut the isolation guidelines from 10, which is already not like the entire symptomatic period of COVID for a lot of people, into 5. And then they said 5 days if asymptomatic, and then a day later they changed it to, or symptoms are resolving. So let's assume you have a fever of 101.3, right? And then your fever goes to 101.1. Well, your fever is resolving, so therefore go back to work. That's what the CDC says. Dr. Fauci, someone who should also be in federal prison, was trying to sell this on television as if this was a good idea. The coronavirus is a deadly disease, and the CDC wants you to work during a pandemic so that you die. Why do you need to work? Oh, but you're an essential worker. What's essential working? Oh, Burger King, Wendy's, fucking retail, clothing stores. These are not things that need to be open right now. We should be paying people to stay at home, give them food delivery, pharmaceutical delivery, and pay their rent and utilities so that we can fucking end this goddamn pandemic. But the CDC said no. We are okay with murdering, committing a mass genocide of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of mostly poor people, right? For the sake of capital. And that is what they have done. So now they're going to try to go back. It was a bad deal. I'm sorry. We messed up. No. If I mess up and thousands of people die, you know what would happen? I would go to jail. Right? And what other instance can you murder 1,000+ people and then just get away with it and say, yeah, my bad. Well, actually, in politics, that's how it works. And that's why these people get away with it. These are the most prolific serial killers in world history. Politicians, the CDC director throughout this pandemic has failed. Ever since they said fully vaccinated people can take their masks off, I was skeptical of that. I kept my mask on. Now, sometimes, I forgot a mask and went to a grocery store with that one a couple times back in May or whatever. But, either way, you know, like the idea, like they just flopped on messaging. Biden said he declared victory from the virus on Independence Day. This whole thing has been a shit show, and the CDC is mostly to blame. And again, the Biden administration has done nothing. They have fucked around, and now the entire population of the U.S. is sick. Almost everyone I know that has successfully managed to avoid getting COVID throughout this entire pandemic has gotten it. I got sick a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if it was COVID. I have no idea. I tried to get a test, and the only thing I could find was spending like $40 or registering with the state and waiting 4 days for a test to be mailed to me. Right? None of this shit makes any fucking sense. But I want to read this. Dr. Rochelle Walensky assumed her new role as the director of the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention last January with a vow to restore trust in the agency. Failed! Failed! Do not pass go. Go directly to jail. That's what I have to say on that one. But last fall, several months into the job, and after a series of messaging missteps, Walensky sought out media training. For months, Walensky has met privately with prominent Democratic media consultant Mandy Grunwald to improve her communication skills and continue to do so, according to a person familiar with the previously unreported sessions. On Friday, Walensky will hold CDC's first independent media briefing since the summer, after deciding abruptly this week that she wanted to take questions head-on, according to a person familiar with the decision to hold the briefing. So again, this is a mass murderer. This is one of the most genocidal maniacs in human history, right? They said that you need to go to work even if you're sick. That's what they said. They got a call from the Delta CEO saying, hey, we need more workers. Can you change the guidelines? She was like, all right, cool. And then they changed the guidelines again and said, go to work even if you're sick. Even if you're sick. Fucked up. It comes as the agency is facing a barrage of criticism over confusion stemming from its new guidelines on isolation for people who test positive for COVID-19. Beyond Walensky's personal messaging struggles, the agency has faced criticism for months over its times confusing guidance surrounding the pandemic, with one former senior Biden administration official saying the agency appears to be overthinking its communications. Scientists within the CDC have also grown increasingly frustrated with Walensky's handling of the public health guidance, a CDC scientist told CNN. According to the scientist, Walensky largely crafted the new guidance with the help of a small circle of top advisors, eschewing the traditional process of rigorous scientific vetting by experts at the CDC. Again, Delta CEO called, and then they all gathered in a room and said, how can we get away with this? And then they all decided, well, let's just fucking do it and see what happens. R equals 10 is the rate of infection, basically, which I think it means basically if you are infected, the average amount of spread is that you'll give it to 10 people or something. I'm not entirely sure if that's true. That being said, lockdowns would objectively work because it's not like it's like the disease is going through the atmosphere. If everyone stayed home and did not interact, how the fuck is it going to spread? Lockdowns are the obvious solution. So I disagree with you, Mike. We need to lock down. The idea that you think that I can spread coronavirus from my house or my apartment to across the street grocery store, that's ridiculous. Lockdowns are the only solution. That's why your statement of saying it's our return rate of 10 or whatever is more in favor of lockdowns. That means lockdowns are the only necessary tools. We need universal masking and universal lockdowns besides essential businesses. And Wendy's is not an essential business. Right, Domino's is not an essential business. The department store is not an essential business. The fucking barbershop's not an essential business. Right, the only essential businesses are food manufacturing and production and the USPS. We should do a big call to service to fund the USPS and have more workers at the USPS. That's what we need. Those are the essential businesses. So I'm just saying. But let's go back into this article. The director, a well-regarded infectious disease expert, apparently not, with no prior government experience, is now responsible for explaining that decision and other COVID-19 guidance both in public and briefings with top White House officials. Since assuming a role, Walensky has worked to improve her internal communications and sought to cultivate... I'm not even going to bother, I'm going to just skip that. Because it's just, this is it's trying to make her out to be oh, she's a struggling heroine. Oh, she's trying so hard and she's made mistakes along the way. I don't buy that shit. Marched out in handcuffs. Go to prison. Go directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You fucked up and thousands of people will die as a result of your horrible actions. Go the fuck to jail. In what other context can any other citizen of this country murder thousands of people and not go to jail? Just become the CDC director and then fuck around. That's the only way you can get away with it, right? The latest messaging setback happened last month when the CDC cut its recommended isolation period for those with COVID-19 to 5 days and recommended people who test positive should continue to wear a mask in public for 5 additional days. That's the thing, right? That's how fucking crazy this is. So, okay, they didn't recommend universal masking, and they didn't say, all right, we're going to give every single person in this country 10, 15, 30, and 95 masks, and you wear like 5 at once. No. No. They said, if you test positive, go back to work, and then continue to wear the mask for 5 days, and then question mark? What? What? You just take the mask off after 5 days, even if you're still symptomatic, even if you still have a fever, even if you're still contagious? Why? What? Again, this is mass murder for the sake of capital. The CDC director is in bed with Delta CEO and probably other CEOs, and they made a deal with a devil to murder thousands and thousands and thousands of American civilians for the sake of short-term quarterly profits for capitalists. That's what this is. Behind the scenes, other federal public health officials also questioned the decision not to include testing. Both Dr. Anthony Fauci, the president's top medical advisor on COVID-19, and the U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy publicly made clear clarifications were coming. That doesn't help. Oh yeah, we're going to clarify later. How about you clarify right now, dumb motherfucker? Amid the public backlash, Rovenski sought to reassure fellow senior federal health officials, telling Fauci and Murthy that the lack of a testing requirement in the isolation guidance was not motivated by nationwide testing shortages. Oh, okay, so we're not going to tell people to test. It has nothing to do with the fact that we have no tests in this country. It has to do with, question mark? Again, folks, I'm not gonna, this person should be in jail. They are a mass murderer. This is a serial killer. These are assassins. These are hitmen. They were paid to murder American civilians for short-term quarterly profits of CEOs and capitalist industries. That's the end. That's the fucking end of the story. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to fucking jail. These are criminals. Now, again, the mainstream media can try to make you think that they're not criminals. Oh, they just made a mistake. If I made a mistake and 5,000 people died, that's one hell of a mistake. Like, seriously, imagine what other context you can make a mistake in that results in mass death in the thousands and thousands and thousands, and then you don't go to jail. Does the vaccine really work? Yes, the vaccine works. The vaccine prevents severe sickness, hospitalization, and death. Why do we need to keep taking vaccines? Because stupid motherfuckers aren't taking the vaccine and the virus is mutating and becoming more contagious. That's why. This is the problem with, like, I know NDefed is some, like, you know, Jimmy Dore adjacent person that also watches my stream, which is pretty interesting, by the way. So I want to be a clarifying voice. The vaccine works. It prevents severe sickness, hospitalization, and death. If you get COVID and you're unvaccinated, you have, I think, as the last time I read it, an 11 times higher rate of death if you're unvaccinated, right? Now, yes, do people that are vaccinated have the chance of dying? Yes. But again, it is severely diminished. Severely diminished. I think that, like, I read it's like less than 1% of vaccinated people. Maybe that's wrong. I'm not sure. Someone verify that. But again, Like, this shit is, like, it's not that difficult. But again, YouTube is an industry where you can profit off of lying about vaccines. You can profit off of sowing doubt and hesitation and discord when it comes to vaccines. And that's what people like Jimmy Dore have done. In fact, I've got a Jimmy Dore clip lined up for today, so maybe we'll get into that soon. Now, again, another common conspiracy theory is that vaccines don't stop the spread. What? It doesn't stop the spread? The idea that if something isn't 100% surefire that it's not worth doing is stupid. There is not a one, like, if I eat food, right? There is a non-0% chance that I will die as a result of eating that food. Should I just not eat food? If I drink water, there is a non-0% chance that I will die after drinking the water. Does that mean I shouldn't drink water? What? Just because something isn't 100% doesn't mean it's not worth doing. Right? When you are vaccinated, right, your body, let's assume you do get the virus. Your body will fight it off significantly quicker, which means you will be symptomatic and contagious for a significantly shorter period of time, which means that the spread is significantly reduced. Does it mean it's 0%? No, but it means it's like 5%. So it's like, that's the same thing with masks. Are masks 100% going to stop the spread? No, but that's why they're called N95s, because they block 95% of particulates, which is better than 0. It's better than 0. The idea that, oh, well, it's not 100%, so therefore fuck it. That's dumb. It's Looney Tunes. It's so ridiculously stupid. I can't even imagine how you even, like, get out of bed every day thinking that kind of shit. It's so goddamn dumb. It's so fucking dumb. But, I mean, again, if you're stuck inside all day or whatever, and that's your life, and you're watching Jimmy Dore all day, you're gonna become a fucking moron. Jimmy Dore makes people stupid. Like, these anti-vax fucking loser morons online make you stupid. They are literally killing your brain cells with their fucking garbage. Viruses have nothing to do with your diet. Now, your diet can make it so that viruses have a less chance of killing you. But it's like, oh, I eat organic tomatoes. That's not going to do anything for a virus. It's not going to stop. Oh, the virus is going to be, like, knocking on your door. It's like, oh, shit, this motherfucker eats organic sun-dried tomatoes. I guess we'll go somewhere else. That's not how it works. So anyway, I want to read this as well. So this is a tweet from Sarah Nelson, who says, getting multiple reports that Delta is telling workers across work groups that they should come into work with symptoms even if someone in the household tested positive. And test positive workers should come into work after 5 days if the fever is below 100.9, even if still testing positive. Now, I trust Sarah Nelson because Sarah Nelson is the president of the Flight Attendants Union, I believe is her role. Yeah, the Association of Flight Attendants Union. So if anyone's going to have this info, it's going to be her. Now, again, this is the problem with the CDC doing this bullshit. Like I just mentioned, this fucking CDC director article where they're trying to, like, pretend like, oh, she just made some mistakes. The Delta CEO called the CDC, said, hey, can you drop the guidelines? And now, because again, the Delta was going to fuck around with the guidelines anyway. But, so, like, if the CDC changes its guidelines and then Delta, like, changes its guidelines to be further away from the CDC, right, again, it's closer to the CDC, so that way they can say, well, you know, we're a company. We're trying to, like, you know. Again, imagine going to work on an airplane with a 100.8 fever. Are you joking? Is that a joke? Again, they are wanting to kill you. This is literally the modern day equivalent of throwing people in a volcano for the sake of pleasing the gods. You know, like ancient civilizations, right? They would literally throw people in volcanoes because they thought that would give them rain. That is the modern day equivalent. They are throwing you in the volcano of capitalism for short-term quarterly profits. You bet your fucking sweet-ass bippy that the Delta CEO is triple vaccinated and is fucking locked down in a bunker somewhere collecting their dividends and their paychecks, while they are forcing you to kill yourself and your family for their benefit. Do I need to provide any more details? Do I need to give you any more information? Capitalism is killing you, your family, and this society and everyone around us. It's fucking... This is the equivalent of when you're watching Don't Look Up, right? And the fucking billionaire douchebag is like, oh, well, maybe think of the jobs that the comet will bring. Think of the jobs. That's this. Think of the jobs. So fucking stupid. So fucking dumb. It's so dumb. It's so goddamn dumb. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Well, at least it was the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life until I saw this. So here's Jimmy Dore talking to someone I've never heard of about transgenders. So, you know, people sent this to me and were like, oh, you're a transgender. What do you think about this? So I haven't watched the full clip yet. But this is pretty embarrassing. So let's watch.
My only tip would be to the trans community is that maybe stop turning allies into enemies, because it seems like that's what's happening in this. But again, I don't know many trans people, so.
What is that? Like, okay, so obviously they were having a conversation about this beforehand. And I would love to have the full context, but, you know, Jimmy Dore loves to private his archives, right? He doesn't like anyone to know what he was saying unless you record it in real time. So, but if anyone can find me the extended clip on this, I would love to know. What does that mean? Like, I said, what? Like, there's got to be some, like extremely relevant context, right? How does, what? So, but let's continue.
I don't even know what the hell, really, their thoughts are. All I know is the loudest ones online. Now, Kurt, you know some trans people?
Yeah.
Folks, I don't know any trans people. They're turning allies into enemies, question mark. Do you know a trans person? Guest I have on. It said, how about this? All right, I'm just going to say this now. Everyone who watches Jimmy Dore, I will go on Jimmy Dore's show and we can talk about trans issues. I don't care if he disagrees. I am willing to go on Jimmy Dore's issue, or in his show, and talk about transness. Talk about transgenderism. Talk about wokeism. Whatever the fuck he wants to talk about that he thinks is relevant. Let's do it. If he is struggling to find a trans person to go on his show to talk about trans issues, struggle no longer, because I'm right here. So, but let's see what this guest, who might or might not know a trans, let's see what they're saying.
Oh, I know 3 people that friends of mine that transition, like I know before and after, and you know, I was in New York for years. Most people they're not like this. This is a very specific. You see that memo that just came out where the Trans Legal something, which is a major activist group, they found that they're not doing well with the women's sports argument.
Oh, I did see.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's a thing like I could have told you for free, but they probably paid $30,000 to figure it out through like polling that. So this is some kind of like prepackaged, like fake, like activism that's not working, and the people online doing it. That's a small majority of people, most of whom nothing to do with being trans are.
Can someone tell me what a small majority is, by the way? Like, what is a small majority? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what that
mentally ill people. That's what Twitter elevates the majority of people. So this is some kind of like prepackaged, like fake, like activism that's not working. And the people online doing it, that's a small majority of people, most of whom nothing to do with being trans, are mentally ill people. That's what Twitter.
So, okay. The trans people that advocate for trans rights are mentally ill. It's not because they're trans. It has nothing to do with them being trans. But they are trans. They're advocating for trans rights. And they're mentally ill. I'm not saying that because they're trans. I'm just saying it. I'm just saying it.
Twitter elevates that. And Instagram elevates that.
I agree.
So most of the people that you meet just want to live their lives and don't want to. They're not trying to like send anybody off to a separate nation of untouchables based on small disagreements.
What does that mean? Like, I sincerely, what the fuck does this mean? This is what happens when you don't have trans friends in your life. Yes, most trans people want to be left alone. But you know what the problem is? None of you motherfuckers will leave us the goddamn fuck alone. That's the goddamn problem. If y'all would just leave trans people the fuck alone, trans people wouldn't be requesting rights. Why do you think trans people want rights in society? Because they don't have them. In fact, later on in the show, I want to talk about this story. Transgender people are 3 times as likely to go hungry, new census data shows. I'm going to get into that later. But again, I don't understand this. Like, this makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Okay, so trans people are mentally ill. It's not because they're trans. It's just because they want trans rights. And trans people, most trans people just want to be left alone. But then there's some that want to send you to an island somewhere. What the fuck? What?
This is like almost all social media has produced this like illusion that it's a thing.
What's a thing?
This is the world we're living in now.
What is?
That you have to apologize for taking a picture with Dave Chappelle, who, by the way, has probably the most popular comedy special of the year on Netflix, which Barack Obama sits on the board of.
Okay, so they're talking about Patton Oswalt taking a photo with Dave Chappelle, which I didn't talk about that. I was going to. People wanted me to, but I didn't. But, like, my opinion is, if Patton Oswalt is trying to change Dave Chappelle's mind and make him not be such a raging fucking bigot, anti-trans maniac, that's a good thing. I have no problem with that. If he's trying to be that friend who's trying to convince him to step off the fucking hill that he's dying on, that's a good thing. I don't think it's going to work, but if that's what his intentions are, that's good. And that, to my understanding, is what his intentions are. But again, the idea that you're going to promote Dave Chappelle, even though you know he's a raging maniac, anti-trans bigot, that's my problem. That's my problem part of it. Also, what the fuck does Obama sitting on the board of Netflix have to do with what?
Shouldn't Barack Obama have to apologize for green lighting or being on the same platform as Dave Chappelle? How come Barack Obama gets off on this one?
Okay, first of all, yeah, Barack Obama should apologize. Not just for sitting on the board of Netflix, right? But for a lot of things. Barack Obama has made a lot of mistakes, motherfucker, and he needs to apologize. He needs to go on the actual apology tour. Remember when Obama was president and he went and said sorry about a bunch of stuff and Republicans were like, oh, he's on an apology tour, right? Like, okay, he needs to do that, but for real. But what the fuck does that have to do with this? Like, what the fuck? What?
How come he doesn't have to pay a price for this one?
What?
Isn't he a board member of fucking Netflix?
Is Jimmy Dore under the illusion that trans people like Barack Obama? Are you joking? Is this a fucking joke? Are you stupid?
Or is it right? Doesn't he have power over at Netflix? And Dave Chappelle's the biggest comedy special at Netflix. What? How come he doesn't? But Patton Oswalt, who doesn't have any power, has to apologize for just taking a picture with him.
Now again, do I think that Patton Oswalt has to apologize? I don't necessarily think so. If he wants to be a positive influence in Dave Chappelle's life and he thinks that he can change his mind on that, that's a good thing. I think that that's a good thing. But yes, also you have to understand, maybe you shouldn't be posting this stuff on social media. Maybe the idea of you doing like a photo shoot with someone who's a raging anti-trans bigot is maybe during a moment where like trans people are under fire generally all the time anyway, maybe that's not the greatest idea. But again, this idea that everything is so binary, trans people attack, like that didn't happen. That I didn't see that anywhere. Everyone I saw talking about this was just basically like, yeah, I hope he can change Dave Chappelle's mind, but also why are you posting this online and making a big deal out of it, because it doesn't need to be online. That's the thing. But also, again, there's another clip on this as well that's adjacent where they're talking about Dave Chappelle and whether or not he's anti-trans or whatever. So let's dig into this.
And supports trans rights. I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle 100% supports trans rights.
So again, in Dave Chappelle's latest stand-up special, he misgenders his trans friend who committed suicide. So okay, the punchline to this joke is that like what was it? It was like, you know, your father's the best woman I've ever known or some shit. The punchline is to misgender and mock a dead trans woman. But he 100% supports trans rights. What?
I don't think he would say, no, we should discriminate.
To misgender someone after they are dead, to claim that that's not discrimination, it requires a level of psychopathy that is so obvious that the fact that this guy, like, I don't understand why Jimmy Dore just doesn't say, I don't care about trans people. Because it's clear he doesn't give a fuck. It's clear he doesn't give a fucking fuck. So
Against trans people. Have you ever heard him say that, Kurt?
No, but if you don't go along with every little thing
so this
is what says.
The punchline of his joke about a dead trans woman is that, like, he's talking to their kid or whatever and saying that your father's the best woman ever or some shit. That's fucking disgusting. That is horrible. That is evil. He says he is Team TERF. What does TERF mean? It stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. TERFs, their life mission is to basically ban trans people from public spaces, especially in the UK, right? That's where TERFs, it's, you know, we refer to it as TERF Island because they're so active over there, right? The idea that Dave Chappelle is 100% in favor of trans rights or something is ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Yeah.
This is what Glenn Greenwald, the point he makes. Glenn Greenwald, a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist.
I love how he's a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. You know who else has prizes? Like, what is that? Like, that's like saying, oh yeah, Barack Obama, Nobel Peace Prize winner. What? Like, what?
He makes the point that if I agree with your agenda 97%, but I have a quibble with 3% of it, that doesn't make me an enemy.
This is another thing where it's like the made up percentages. This is a made up. Oh yeah, I agree with trans rights 97%. What does that mean? I agree with your rights 97% of the time. What? Like, what? I just don't understand. Like, what is that? Like, that's like saying, like, you know, like during fucking segregation or something, it's like, oh, black people have rights. Look, they've got their own separate water fountains. What do you mean they don't have rights? They've got the right. Like, what? Like, what do you mean what does that mean you agree 97% of the rights? Like, when you want someone to be treated as an equal in society, that is like that is one of the very few things in society that is binary. You are either equal or you are not equal. How can you be, like, I want you to be 97% equal? What does that even mean? How can you even quantify that?
That makes me an ally that we have small disagreements with. But if you don't agree with them 1,000%, you're now an enemy, which is a dumb way to do it.
Again, have you noticed that there is no argument here? There is no specificity. There is no talking about, like, what are these disagreements? What is the 3% that we disagree on?
Because you're now turning allies into enemies, which is what they tried to do with the patent. And
also, who's they? The idea that trans people are a monolith? Like, again, I'm a trans person. Every trans person I know said that, yeah, maybe talking to Dave Chappelle and doing a big public stunt was a bad idea, but if you want to be friends with him on a personal level and stop him from dying on this hill of bigotry, that's a good thing. It's called constructive criticism. I don't understand.
Again, as far as I'm pretty sure Dave Chappelle would not be for discriminating.
Again, I want to remind you all, the entire punchline of his transphobic jokes are the sole idea of the punchline is discrimination. That's it. That's the joke.
Against trans people. In fact, I've never heard him say it. I only saw his one special. Maybe he said in his other special. I didn't see it.
No, he said nothing like that. He didn't accept the basic premise. I guess,
I don't think he says they shouldn't be married. I don't think he says they shouldn't be allowed to employment or should be discriminated against in housing or lending or anything. Right?
But if you criticize any part of it, this is the argument.
I don't criticize any part of it. What is any part of it? What does that mean? What is it? What is the part that you're What?
You're basically killing people by not accepting every little thing.
Look at this guy's eyeballs, by the way. Look, I don't know. Look at this fucking shit. I gotta take a screenshot of this. Like, oh my God. Like, look at that. Like, that is some crazy ass shit. Hold on. Look at this guy's eyeballs. This is like an alien being of some kind. Check this out. Look at this. What is that? Like, I'm just gonna like leave that on screen for the rest of this. But like, what is that? Like, that's crazy shit.
Not accepting every little thing that an activist said. And, also, for the record, remember Chappelle's trans friend that ended up committing suicide after being bullied by...
So that's a lie. So, like, this is another big lie that, like, they've spun. So, again, the situation here now, this was released by the friend and roommate of Daphne. I forget her last name. There was no bullying. No one bullied Daphne into suicide. Actually, you know what was interesting was one of the key things was that she did commit suicide. Now, again, you can't, when someone commits suicide, the idea that you're blaming it on one sole thing, that's not how suicide works. No one kills themselves because of one thing. It's like, I failed a test. Boom, I'm killing myself. It's a confluence of factors that add up and get bottled up over time that eventually explode. There can be a catalyst, but no one kills themselves over one small thing, right? Being attacked online doesn't make someone kill themselves. It's an entire lifetime of experience that leads up to that moment. But, again, that's just made up. No one bullied Daphne. If you look at all of Daphne's posts online, you see how many times are trans people bullying her? 0 times, actually. 0 times. You can literally just look at her post history when she was defending Dave Chappelle, and you can see 0 trans people had an issue with it. And if you see any trans people criticizing, it's constructive criticizing. Right? Now, again, what happened here? Like, let's look at the timeline here. Now, again, I think I did make a video about this, or maybe I made a Twitter thread about it. But what happened was, like, she did a bunch of sets with Dave Chappelle, and then found out later that Dave Chappelle was misgendering her and using her as a token and making fun of her when she did not appear at certain sets. Now, that could have been a catalyst, right, for what made her kill. I'm not going to say Dave Chappelle made her kill herself, because that's not true. But again, the idea that trans people bullied her into suicide, that is complete fiction. Right? Now, again, why was that made up? Because Dave Chappelle feels bad that he might have possibly been a catalyst, so he's overcorrecting and making things up. No one in the trans community bullied Daphne at all. At all. The only thing that she got was some slight criticism, like, say, hey, be careful, I don't think this guy's really an ally. That's it. That's the extent. If you look at all of her public posts from before she killed herself, you will find 0 bullying by the trans. It is complete fiction. They made it up entirely in whole cloth. None of it is real. None of it is real.
The trans community online?
Is that so? He goes on, for all the things he's helped me evolve on, I'll always disagree with where he stands now on transgender issues. I wish he would have put what it was that he disagreed with him on, because I don't know what it is. I'm not trying to play dumb. I actually am dumb. I don't fucking.
That's the one true thing. I might even clip that for a sound drop, because that's good.
Know what it exactly is he disagrees with.
I don't think he knows either. I think he knows people were mad at him, and he has to say.
But this is what I mean. The backlash. You took a picture. You think he took a picture with David Duke or Ted Bundy?
So again, I need y'all to understand that this trans panic that we're dealing with now is completely fictitious. trans people aren't going around like fucking breaking women's skulls in MMA. Trans people aren't going around like sexually assaulting women and girls in bathrooms. This whole fucking panic is starting and based on fictitious narratives that never happened and never existed. Dave Chappelle literally said he is Team TERF. The TERF acronym is Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. The idea that you would say, yes, I am trans exclusionary radical feminist, literally, how can you interpret that to be not trans exclusionary? Oh yeah, I'm a trans inclusive trans exclusionary radical feminist. That doesn't make any, what? He literally openly says that. Now again, let's imagine he doesn't know what the term means and just said it because he thought it was funny. Then you'd think, oh, he would clarify, right? In his next set, he would go like, oh yeah, I said that, I didn't know what it means, someone told me what it meant, and I realized it was stupid. He hasn't done that. He's doubled down. He's tripled down. He's quadrupled down. He's made more and more and more and more and more vicious attacks on trans people. So the idea, there's like, oh, he just is, he's a trans inclusionary, exclusionary, like what the fuck? And then also, like, what is this? Like, who even is this person? Why do I know who this exists now? Like, look at this this guy's a freak. I mean, look at him. Like, none of these people, like, what? This is your idea of an expert on trans issues? This guy? Like, are you fucking joking? Like, seriously, man. Like, these people are maniacs. And the idea that you're gonna blame trans people because Patton Oswalt felt the need to, like, write a post about why he took a photo with Dave Chappelle. How is that trans people's problem? What? I don't, like, what the fuck does any of this have to do with trans people? And then again, turning allies into enemies. This is all an excuse. Oh, you criticized me somewhat slightly. No, not even that. You criticized someone else somewhat a little bit, maybe. I don't know, because I'm not going to cite the criticism. I'm not. I'm just going to cite the response to the criticism that may or may not have existed. So let me get this straight. So trans people may have criticized someone slightly somewhere, so that they wrote a defense of their post, and then that's turning allies into enemies because question mark? Do you see how none of this makes any sense at all? It's all a bunch of garbage. It's all a bunch of moral fucking panic over nothing. It's nothing. It's garbage. It's shit on my shoes. And I need you to understand that these people are peddling bullshit. This is bullshit. Folks, I need y'all to understand there is a dog behind me. Look at that dog. I don't know how you deal with this, Andrea. I don't know how I deal with it either. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Like, I mean, like, honestly, let me even say like this. Let me add this as an amendment on this segment. All right? The idea... Now, like, I am a trans woman on the internet, right? I get death threats, I would say every week, almost every day, from Nazis, neo-Nazis. I've been swatted by neo-Nazis because I'm trans, right? I get harassment every day. Now, not all harassment contains death threats, but I get people attacking me online every single day in my comment section on YouTube and on other places because I am a trans woman. Now, I'm still making videos. I'm still here. Right, now let's assume, right, trans people are attacking Patton Oswalt or Dave Chappelle. Is it every day? Are they commenting on this guy's shit every day where he can see it every day? Chances are no. But then also, Dave Chappelle is not in the same situation. He is in a position of power because he is a cisgender person in a society where where we are living in a cis-normative society where cis people have a higher ranking in the structure of society that we're living in, right? So the idea of a trans person attacking a cis person for being cis is like the idea of a black person attacking a white person for being white. It doesn't make as much sense, right? A black person attacking a white person for being white isn't as bad, if not, it's barely bad at all, to be honest with you. Similarly to how a white person attacking a black person for being black is much worse, right? So the idea That they're going to try to play role reversal here is ridiculous. Do you know, again, on a personal level, anyone who's trans, do you know the amount of attacks and hatred that we have gotten since Dave Chappelle's done his new bigot tour? I'm going to tell you, I've been a trans woman on the internet for a long time, right? The entirety of the time that I've been trans, I've been a trans woman on the internet. So, I will tell you that when you have these big stories, and Dave Chappelle did his big Netflix special, the amount of hate I received online increased dramatically. I'm talking like maybe 5 or 6 times. And I did make videos on Dave Chappelle, and I did criticize Dave Chappelle. But not only were those the videos that I received a significant increase of hate on, but just in general. Like in general, on videos that are about random topics that have nothing to do with my gender or trans or any related issues. On videos about, like, you know, Joe Biden fumbling in a speech, on videos about eating food properly, on videos about, like, you know, like police shootings, I get people attacking me for being trans, and some of them will literally cite, oh, like, I heard that, you know, Dave Chappelle was right when he said that y'all are lunatics. Or, like, again, I need you to understand, right? Like, none of these people have any idea what they're talking about because they're not directly related to it, right? And so, like, I can tell you right now, I deal with this on a daily basis. I get death threats on a weekly basis, probably, from these Looney Tunes, right? So, the idea that Dave Chappelle is facing any similar kind of thing, to me, is impossible. Because, again, it's like the idea of a black person calling a white person a cracker. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's powerless. A trans person calling Dave Chappelle a bigot or a TERF when he proudly wears the label doesn't mean anything. It means nothing. But Dave Chappelle attacking trans people on his platform from a position of power, being a wealthy millionaire and son of people that worked in the State Department, that means a lot more. So again, it's all about your power in society. And the idea that Dave Chappelle, a black person, doesn't understand this is just even more embarrassing. So I wanted to add that amendment. When you're attacked in the YouTube comment section or in the replies on Twitter and you see your subscribers or just viewers standing up for you, does it give you any sense of, oh, I mean, for sure. I love when the white knights do their thing. And, you know, that's what everyone, what you should do is you should watch my videos, but like a week later. So that way you can patrol the comment section like fucking SpongeBob in the Hall Monitor episode when he's on patrol, right? You got to just patrol my comment section and respond to all the garbage. That's what you got to do. So go look at my videos from like weeks ago and then make sure you're topped up on all the hate comments. But no, I mean, yes, that does help. I mean, I have, you know, dealt with a lot when it comes to bigotry and hatred because of me being a trans person online. And so the idea that people would be willing to defend me on my behalf or whatever, that's great. And I do appreciate it. And, like, also, that's another thing is, like, it does, in a lot of ways, teach my audience what the fuck it is to be trans on the internet, right? Like, if you are not a trans person and you are not a content creator or you are not in this space, just looking at my comment section, right, that can get you a good idea as to what we're dealing with in this society, right? So it's like, watch any video I make about Trump, right? Any video I make about Trump is going to have this because, you know, right-wingers love Trump, so they name search Trump and then they leave like 15,000 comments on all the videos, right? So it's like, you know, just the idea that you know what the discrimination is and how it works and what talking points they use, that will make you a better ally in general because you know what the fuck people are going through. I used to be rather prejudiced towards trans people. I think everyone, if you were born into a society that hates trans people, you are probably going to be prejudiced against trans people. Like, look at, like, you know, like, look at movies and culture. I mean, look at, like, Dave Chappelle's comedy special is a cultural milestone or whatever. But, like, I mean, just look at, like, the 1980s and 90s, right? Like, whenever I've seen, like, movies where like the entire joke or like an entire plot twist is that someone is trans. And then it's like, oh, horror, scary. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the entire joke in the movie. And then like they laugh at it, and then all the characters are like, and then even the 2000s, like even still, like that's still like a thing, a comedy use, right? So if you are in that society, if you were born and raised in a society that hates a certain kind of people, of course you're going to start out, that's your default position. The idea is that people need to get better over time and that they need to learn from different perspectives why those things are bad. I remember when I first watched Sleepaway Camp. I'm going to be honest though, I don't think that Sleepaway Camp is... I've heard a lot of people say that it's a really triggering movie, but also I'm not convinced. Like, I think... I'm not convinced. Honestly, I'm not convinced that Sleepaway Camp is necessarily transphobic. Now, again, I haven't seen this movie since I was, like, maybe a teenager, so it's maybe I should watch it again. But I think that the twist is not necessarily that they're trans, but the twist is that, like, you spend the whole movie thinking that they're a different person, right? You know, and I think that that's the twist. I don't think that it's necessarily a transphobic angle. But then again, I haven't seen the movie in a while. But yeah, so maybe I should watch it again. My reasons for being prejudiced towards trans people were very different. Well, if you ever want to come on the show sometime and tell me why you used to hate trans people and now you don't, I would be interested to know about that. The wokeness and cancel culture SJW stuff came down on me. I mean, it happens. If you're online all the time and you're like, especially if you're in gamer circles, you know? That's a thing. They inoculate politics into apolitical things. Silence of the Lambs is bad. Yeah, Silence of the Lambs is pretty horrible. I definitely wouldn't put Sleepaway Camp in the same category as Silence of the Lambs. That is yikes. Like, that is a huge yikes as far as big yikes. For sure. Big fucking yikes. But I want to talk about this because I think that this is something that's important to understand. Transgender people are 3 times as likely to go hungry, new census data shows. So I'm going to, a lot of people love to say, oh, well, I don't hate you because you're trans. I don't discriminate against you because you're trans. Therefore, I am not transphobic. And, government doesn't discriminate against that. Like, saying I hate trans people is not the only way to discriminate against trans people. In the same way that, you see these stories online where it's like, a black family was trying to sell their house and an appraisal was significantly lowballed. And then they, had, their white friends, put photos of their white family in the house. And then they got another appraisal and the price skyrocketed, right? Like, a lot of these biases and discriminations are subconscious. People don't realize that, right? And what that produces is a society where, again, as we can see, transgender people are 3 times as likely to go hungry, new census data shows. It's not necessarily that someone says, oh, you're trans, therefore I'm not going to feed you, or I'm not going to employ you. Oh, you're trans, and therefore I'm going to... It's not always on a conscious level. These are unconscious, subconscious biases that produce these disproportionate things in society when it comes to trans people and other kinds of minorities. And we need to understand that, okay? So let's go in here. This is from December 31st. Transgender adults were 3 times as likely as cisgender people to experience food insecurity this year, according to new data analyzed by the Williams Institute of UCLA. The data, which collected by the Census Bureau's Household Pulse Survey between June and October 21, showed that more than a quarter of transgender adults in the United States reported sometimes or often not having enough to eat, compared with just 8% of cisgender adults. Trans people of color were especially vulnerable. Nearly 36% experienced food insecurity. And this is another problem I have with, the anti-trans discourse, especially with the recent Dave Chappelle garbage, is Dave Chappelle in his special, one of the big, jokes, or one of the big like messages of a special is that white people are trans and gay, and that black people are really in like, you know, in a bad place in society. But that completely erases black trans people, black gay people, and just people of color that are in the trans and gay community and so forth. And that's another huge problem because, again, if you're trans and you're white, you're going to be in a better situation than if you're trans and you're black. That's just the way society is structured. White people are in a position of power by default in this society because we live in a structurally racist society where a lot of people, enough people to make an actual structural shift, are either subconsciously or unconsciously biased against black people or trans people, or just overtly biased against them, right? So again, I am a white trans person, so I know that I am getting a short end of a stick in society, but I am not getting the shortest end of the shortest stick in society, and that's why, again, I will use my position to advocate for rights of all people to, like, make sure that there is less racism in society, right? If I can help produce a society where, let's say, trans people and trans people of color have the same level of disproportionate food insecurity compared to cisgender people, that's still a win in my book. Now, obviously, I want to have a great equalization of society when it comes to this kind of stuff. But again, we need to fight all kinds of discrimination. And one of the things that is commonly just ignored entirely is that trans people are not a white thing. I don't know who created this fucking like weird fan fiction where like in their minds the only gay people and the only trans people in the world are white people. That's weird. That's never existed. It's never been like that. No one has ever suggested that that's a thing other than these weirdo comedians that people like, these weird philosophers that people want to think are funny. At the root of this, researchers say, is a web of discrimination that leaves trans Americans impoverished and unable to access food. Roughly 30% of trans people live in poverty, the Williams Institute has found. 30% of trans people live in poverty. That's fucking crazy. That's crazy. People are poor, and that's why they don't have enough food. Said, thank you for breaking, like that. Wow, that is a profound, people are poor, and because they're poor, they don't have food. Wow, that's breaking news. But anyway, said Kirith J. Conran, research director of the Williams Institute and the co-author, along with Catherine O'Neill. On the new report of food insecurity, it's important to consider how stigma and discrimination impact economic resources across the life course. Again, like if you are a cisgender, straight, white person, right? You are more likely, let's say, when applying for an apartment to get that apartment, when applying for a job to get that job, when asking for a raise to get that raise, when asking for a promotion or whatever to get that. You are more likely, and it's just, again, it's very difficult to quantify, right? So again, let's assume you're trying to find an apartment if you're trans, right? Chances are it's going to take maybe 5 or 6 more tries, or, I'm just making these numbers up, but just for the sake of argument, right? Let's assume you're like just a cisgender white person. It might take you a couple times, right, to get an apartment, to get in and to move in. If you're trans, it might take you a couple more times. If you're black, it might take you a couple more times, right? Like and then that adds up over the course of all factors of society, right? And then again, not also to mention direct amounts of hate crimes, especially when trans women of color are the most brutalized disproportionately to like percentage of population in this society. We're seeing an epidemic, a pandemic even, of trans women of color being murdered in society, and a lot of the times when people are arrested for these things, they'll say, I thought they were a woman and they were a man, and so I beat the shit out of them and killed them. And then sometimes that's referred to as the trans panic defense, right, which is a derivative of the gay panic defense, right, as well, where it's an actual legal phenomena where people throughout the history of this country have gotten away with murder because they said, I panicked because I thought that they would give me the gay. People have literally murdered people, friends of theirs, when they found out that they were gay, and then went to court and said, I panicked. It was temporary insanity. I panicked because I found out they were gay and they were going to give me AIDS or something, and I thought that they were going to gay me up or rape me because that's what gay people do, and so I killed them. All right, you're free. That's a phenomenon that's happened, and that has also happened with trans people. So again, it's not just direct discrimination, that it's subconscious and unconscious discrimination throughout all aspects of society. Right now, again, also factor in that trans people need more healthcare access, right? Like, for example, I am on hormones, which cost money, right? So it's like, if let's assume I'm in everything is the same boat with me and someone who is, you know, my health and all that, whatever, we're in the same boat as someone who's cis. Well, they are, like, let's say they don't have the bills of having to have hormones or having to do, like, blood work or whatever. I'm getting my blood done today, right? They don't have those bills. Then that means they're going to have, like, just that much money more in their accounts, and that's going to put them in, like, again, you need to understand, there are things in society that destabilize equality. And the idea that trans people are privileged or, like, that they're, you know, oh, they're woke and therefore, like, you know, I don't even know what the arguments are. But again, like, this stuff is really important to understand. You can read this article. It goes more in depth on the study. But the basic principle is that most of these biases are unconscious, subconscious biases in society. And then there's a lot of other factors that leave trans people in the dust, especially trans people of color. And it's a huge problem in society. So the idea that anyone wants to say that trans people have equal rights in the society, they are wrong. In the same way that people who say that there's no such thing as racism or systemic racism in the society, they're wrong, right? They are objectively, factually, by every metric wrong. And the sooner they realize that, and the sooner you realize that, the sooner we can actually fix these problems in society, because they are wrong, you are wrong, and we need to fix these problems. So there you go. I've heard what Jordan Peterson has said in regards to trans issues, and I can say this in response.
That isn't what it meant.
Well, what did it mean then? Explain.
It meant that it's indicative of low-resolution thinking. I mean, there's like a big hoopla about genital preference. Personally, I'm gonna be honest with you. This may be a little bit of an out there take, but I think sexuality is fake. Let me expand upon that, right? I think the idea that most people are straight is fake. I genuinely think this. I think that a lot of people in society, now we're seeing like an explosion in bisexuality, in pansexuality, and homosexuality in society with younger generations. Now, people love to say that that's because, like the woke water, fluoride, and in the woke culture, trans people are giving kids, and it's making them gay. I don't think that that's the case. I think that we're living in a more accepting and open society, and people are like, fuck. I'll fuck whatever I want, whenever I want, and that's more likely to be acceptable. I think the idea that you are born into a society, that dictates how you operate in society, right? Now, do I think that there are people that genuinely are disgusted at the idea of certain genitals? Maybe, sure. But also, it's impossible to really know what amount of that is actually in their mind and what amount of that is just from societal expectations, especially when it comes to straight men. Straight men are Straight men, one, are never allowed to show emotion. If they show emotion, they're weak, pussy, beta male bitches, right? And so that means they're never allowed to, think about their position in life, right? And I'm just speaking on average here. So, and this is, for me personally, when I realized that I was not a straight man as a kid, right, that was, it was a multiple year-long kind of thing. And it led to me basically just like believing that there's really no such. My personal experience might not be indicative of everyone's, right? But I do think that, like, you know, for a lot, like when I was like going through puberty as a teenager and stuff, I thought I was straight because that's what I thought I was a man. I thought I was straight, and that's just, you know, I'm normal, right? That's what I was under the impression of. Now, I knew that I wasn't normal, but I wanted to be normal, right? And I think that has like. And I remember consciously thinking about these things, right? But I think most people, honestly, subconsciously think these things. Most people don't actually bring these things to conscious thought. So they go about their lives thinking that they want to be normal, they strive to be normal, and when presented with the option of not being normal, they panic and they don't know how to think through these feelings. So like, I think most people are probably the chances of someone being 100% homosexual or 100% heterosexual, I think that is an extreme minority, to be honest with you. I think that is an extreme minority. I think people and their sexualities are on a spectrum. They change over time is another thing. Like, sexuality changes over time. I don't think that there is a constant sexuality. But I find it hard to believe that people are on either side. I think it's hard to believe that someone is 100% straight. It's hard to believe that someone is 100% gay. I just, you know, and that can vary. Like, you can be someone who identifies as gay and you think like that, oh, wow, you know, like, let's say you're a gay man and you're like, oh, wow, she's super pretty. Is that like, but I'm not sexually attracted. Like, why do you, like, I don't know, you can be a gay man and think that a woman is pretty and note and understand, you know, that she's sexually attractive in some capacity without necessarily wanting to engage in sexual intercourse with her, right? Like that, like these are all complex ideas, right? So I like the idea that someone is 100% gay or straight. I disagree with that. I think that it's a much more complicated, and I think we need to move past those terms. Those are my opinion. That being said, if you want to identify as gay or straight, I have no problem with that at all, because, you know, you identify with what you feel at the time is an accurate summation of your interests, right? Hugo, instead of telling me why you didn't want to bang a trans woman, how about you tell me why you didn't? Like, I'm just genuinely curious. That shit about straight men not having emotions is real. Oh, yeah, straight men are like fucking husks. They are like fucking soulless creatures. And that's not to say that they can't get the soul. I mean, like, they are built to be that way in society. Like, people love to say, like, oh, you know, men's rights are stupid. Men need rights. Like, come on. Like, I mean, the idea that men have to be tough, can't cry, oh, man, all down there, shotgun. I mean, like, what the fuck is that garbage? They don't have the same smell as cis women. Oh my god. That might be the dumbest reason I've ever heard. Now, first of all, everyone smells different. All right, everyone smells different. And also, if trans women are on hormones, they do objectively have the same smell because they are producing the same, like, pheromones or whatever. So, I mean, and also smell is a lot, like, subjective, so that could just be in your brain. I'm just telling you. The same smell. That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. But, you know, I'm not discounting your experience. I understand. Like, I mean, you know, you can do whatever you want. But, like, also, the same smell. I mean, first of all, to say trans women don't have the same smell that they have, that is factually untrue. Now, you can say that a trans woman that I was considering hooking up with didn't have the right smell as cis women that I've had in my experience. That might be true. That might be true. But to say a blanket statement that trans people smell different, that's not true. That is factually incorrect. So I'm just letting you know. It could be correct that the specific person that you are specifically referring to did not meet that criteria when it comes to smell. That might be true. But to make a blanket statement like trans women don't smell like cis women, that is factually untrue. Also, I read a study. You wouldn't know, Hugo. I'm telling you right now, you are lying. You are lying or delusional. Those are the only options. There's also one of the things that I read about that, like, people's body odors, the more genetically diverse they are compared to you, the more, like, pleasurable they will smell, because, to prevent incest or something. So, like, it's possible that, like, the trans woman you were smelling is, like, your fourth cousin or some shit. Hugo, I'm telling you right now, what you are saying is delusional. Now, again, it's possible. Now, first of all, in order for this to be, like, a confirmed thing, you would need to have, like, a fucking double-blind study. I would need to, like, give you, like, fucking 100 different panties. Like, this sounds like a fucking hentai fantasy, which, by the way, is not a bad thing. But, like, okay, we're gonna give you, like, 100 panties, right? And you're gonna have to tell me the difference, which ones are the trans people, which ones are the cis people. I guarantee you would not be able to score 100% on that. I guarantee you. And then also, when you factor in that trans people are like 1% of society, you are not going to have the same level of experience unless you are going out of your way to try to hunt down trans people to like sniff their underwear, right? I'm telling you, right? Like, now again, personal experience is one thing, but to make these blanket statements is delusion. And that may be true. Like, that may be true that you didn't have that experience when getting intimate with a trans woman. That may be true. I'm not denying your personal experience, but to make a blatant statement off of that is ridiculous. Oh my god. I'm sorry, but that is funny as hell. That is really, really funny. Vegans smell best. That's possible. What is funny? I mean, just everything that you have said in the last 10 minutes is hilarious. I don't know what to tell you. Like, the idea that, like, you want to do, like, a panty sniffing test, that's hilarious. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I'm willing to participate in that experiment. If you want me to, like, give up some of my underwear for that experiment and we can get enough people to do so, I'm down with that. I might have sex with a trans woman, but I don't know if I'd enjoy it on the same level. That's the thing. You might not enjoy it on the same level. But also, the same is not like, doesn't have to be an up or down, right? You can have horizontal experiences, right? Like, you can have sex with someone who's trans and enjoy it in a way that's different, but still very enjoyable of the same horizontal, that's the thing. That you can, it doesn't have to be better or worse. Not every experience has to be better or worse or up or down. It can be horizontal. It can be good in different ways that are equally as valuable as that's possible. I'll sniff one for the team. Oh my god. This is so good. I mean, oh my Lord have mercy. Oh my Lord have mercy. Like, yeah, you can have sex with people, the same person, in different times, and the sex can be of different quality. You can have sex with different people, and the sex will be of different quality. You can have sex with different people, and the sex will be of the same quality, right? Like, that's just how life experiences are. I'm sure you would, Hugo. I'm sure you would. I'm staying out of the sniffing. I mean, it's all good, Alicia. I know you're with the CIA anyway. You'll probably plant some fucking recording device in that shit. I just read a message and I closed my eyes because I'm fairly certain that it's not real. And I'm going to open my eyes and I'm going to hope that I was hallucinating. I took a drug earlier maybe. I don't remember it, but I'm hallucinating. But I'm going to open my eyes and then I'm going to read that message. Me and my friends wear glow-in-the-dark condoms and have lightsaber battles with the light off. All right, that's the end of my bit. But I hope that was entertaining. Oh my god. Hello, Matthew. Can't you people wait till later for this insane BS? What do you mean? What is that? What are you referring to? Who is you people? What is the insane BS? When is later? What's happening here? Like, there's a lot of context that I'm not collecting in that message. Max the dog. Hold up. Max the dog is a doggy dog. Max the dog is a doggy dog. Max the doggy, Max the dog. Max the dog on doggy dog. He's licking the air. He's going for it. Look at him. Max the dog, Max the dog. I'll have you know, if you would like to purchase my used underwear, I'm willing to make that deal. Just reach out and offer me a price that you think is reasonable, and I will tell you if it's not reasonable or if it's reasonable. But again, that is a service I'm willing to participate in. $5? No. Folks, I think that's the show for today. Are the used underwear Patreons here? They could be. Why not? They're used. This is like when you buy like a used video game, right? Like you're buying like a Pokemon Ruby, but it's like Pokemon Ruby with all the Pokemon in the box, you know? Like someone 100%ed that shit. So it's in a lot of ways it's more valuable. I read a story about a streamer that sold farts in a jar. So, like, she would apparently, according to the reports, get jars and then fart into the jar and then immediately close them so that the gaseous fumes would be contained within the jar. And then she started to sell the fart jars as non-fungible tokens. I don't wear underwear, and my girlfriend thought that was wrong, so she gave me hers to wear. That's pretty hot, I'm not gonna lie. Why is it hot? I don't know. It just is. Whew! What a show today. What a show today. Well, you tell her that, Zero. If you ever want to see me collaborate with another person, like, again, always open. I'm the one who's got the open schedule. Oh, by the way, I forgot I was going to do this. Fuck. That's not the show. The show is still going. Alright, folks, hold the goddamn phone. So yesterday, I watched a filmographic film, an experience, if you will, called The Dark Crystal. Now, first of all, I would like to say I've never seen this movie. It is a Jim Henson film. It is very good. It is very good. Like, I was blown the fuck away by the practical effects and the puppets and all of that stuff. Blown the fuck away. Also, I will be joining a panel to discuss this movie on a podcast. I believe it's called Movie Night Extra. So I will link it on Twitter for you to see that. But I'm just going to give you a little teaser for now because, you know, that way I can also monetize it on my channel. This movie, great. I mean, it was great. Like it was really good. It was great. So like basically the plot is about like there's like beings that were split into halves, right? So like when one dies, the other one, the corresponding half dies, right? And there's like an evil race and there's like a good race, and the dark crystal is what separated them, and it's also what combines them again. And then there's like another race of like humanoid creatures. Where the main character is a humanoid creature called like a Gefling. And so the whole plot of the movie is they're trying to reunite the crystal, so that the dark crystal even, so that the races, the good and evil races can become one again and become highly intelligent creatures. I'd never seen this movie. Never, you know, when my Jim Henson experience is mostly relegated to the Muppets. I'm not a huge Sesame Street person. I do love the Hoobs. But, you know, I'm not really into the, you know, I haven't been historically throughout my life into the non-Muppet related Jim Henson stuff. But I would like to get more into it. And this movie was, again, it was very, 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 very good. The practical effects were incredible, especially the room with, like, the solar system where the suns are supposed to, like, the three suns, like, you know, converge or whatever. And that's, like, the kind of, like, you know, it was great. I mean, the movie was great. But, like, that whole, like, diorama or whatever it is of the solar system that was moving in the background independently while, like, there were battle scenes going on. Again, the movie was incredible. I really appreciate practical effects in movies. I know a lot of movies now just use CG. I mean, you know, CG is fun. It's better for, like, you know, construction. You can do more with it for sure. But I love practical effects. I love the idea that what is captured on screen that was like a point in time. I love the idea that a camera rolls and what's happening on screen was something that existed in the world at one time. Whereas CG is like, you know, the camera rolls and then like it's just people like doing this, and then like in the final product there's like actual like big monsters and creatures, but in the real world there are just people doing this, like fighting the creatures, like pretending. I prefer practical effects. That's my huge thing, and this movie was fucking amazing when it comes to practical effects. Now again, it was made in 1982, right? So, or rather it was released in 1982, but still I love practical. I just love it from like an effort standpoint, from an art standpoint. Like I feel like the artistry of like creating like these like the worlds that they show in this movie are amazing. Like the swamps, the forests, right? The caves, like the fucking castle. The worlds are amazing. They look beautiful. And then you can, like, one of my favorite parts is you can see rats, like, you know, crawling around the floors in the background. But they're like puppet rats. Like, you know, they're actual props. Like, they're not real rats. Like, they're actual props, and someone was probably with a stick under the floor, like, going like this or whatever on it. And it's just like, the thinking about that, the the choreography required for everything to sync up. It's just amazing. I love this movie. And so I'm going to be reviewing this movie with let me get you the tweet here. Let me get you the tweet. So just bear with me here. Bear the fuck with me. Bear the fuck with me. I'm getting you the tweet. I'm going to be on a panel with some folks discussing this film. Tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. 8 p.m. I'm scrolling and I'm trying to find this. Here it is. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be doing this with Christina and Ravana and also Forrest, always Flacco. We'll be doing this on the Movie Night Extravaganza podcast, and we'll be talking about this movie. I don't know what we're going to talk about for 2 hours, but that's going to be a thing that's happening. And so if you want to watch a more in-depth conversation about the movie, this movie, you can do so at 8 p.m. And I will link that on Twitter. So there you go, folks. Now that's the show. Now the show is done. And that it wasn't a show before, but now the show is a show. It's one hell of a show. Who set it up? I was requested by Always Flacco. Sent me a message, was like, "You want to call my?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I like Ravana, but she has Cold Cash as a mod. Well, can't win them all. All right. Sorry for yelling at you, but that's the show. I mean, that show is over. It is, in fact, the show. I recommend watching the show. Share the segments of the show. Again, go to the Patreon. I will be posting more parts of the January 6th coverage from last year. The approximately 15-hour live stream I did last year. And I will be uploading that in 1 hour chunks on Patreon, so go check that out if you want to go watch that. And again, I highly recommend it. Again, look at my art. I've been doing art recently. I'm an artist. In fact, if you look behind me in the background, there's a box right here. And you see that little slip of paper coming out of the box? You might see that where my finger is. A little slip of white. That's my art. I'm storing my art in a box at an angle so that the paper gets like that weird fold in it or whatever. You know, like that thing where it bends. But I'm storing it in there. I'm getting into artistry. I'm an artist. And I produce art. And there's a lot of art. So, maybe I'll sell my art at some point, but I'm gonna hold on to it for now. I like art. I've got artists, I'm an artist. Do I like Mega Man Zero? I love Mega Man Zero. Huge fan. I've got all the Mega Man Zero games, complete in box for the Game Boy Advance and the Japanese versions, because I love Mega Man Zero, but I also love Mega Man in general. I'm producing art. I am an artist. Maybe I'll draw a Mega Man and an art at some, and then I'll do some more art. And so I'm gonna drink some coffee. There's some coffee left in this. Maybe I'll make some more art. I got to get my blood drawn today, assuming the hospital doesn't fuck with me, which is very possible. And so I'm gonna get my blood drawn, and so that's scary. So wish me luck. And maybe if you gave me money, I would have a better time. Maybe my anxiety will be eased if you give me money and say let's assume, right, like I'm getting paid to go get my blood drawn. That's gonna produce less anxiety. So consider giving me some cash. And then I'll spend the cash on cryptocurrency, because cryptocurrency has crashed, and so I'm buying back in, and so I'm trying to get some gains, folks. Most people, they get gains like this. I get gains like this. These are my gains. Look at this. Look at these. Look at these bills. You see these bills? But anyway, these bills are not going to make it. So if you want to give me some more cash that I can spend on food or cryptocurrency or coffee, I can spend it on coffee. Or you can just consider it. It's an option. It's an optionable. You could do it. And then you could not do it as well. Those are all. And then I've had these $2. Do I have any money in my wallet? Let me find out. I've got a Mega Man X6 wallet, folks. This is the wallet I've used for like 7 years. It's Mega Man X6. God bless. Do I have any money in my wallet? I don't think I do. I don't. I have no money in my wallet. I'm losing it, folks. I'm losing it. And so, okay. And then that's the. And then the show is over. So, and then I'm gonna show you the show. I'm gonna show you the end of the show right now.
No, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
Early in the morning, they went to the table with the black robe, the black shield, and they pulled out the votes. Those.
Look, talk about education. I propose that what we take is those very poor schools.
Running against the worst candidate.
Triple the amount of money we spend for 15 to 45 billion a year. Give every single teacher a raise. Can you imagine if I lose getting out of the $60,000?
I'm going to say I lost to the worst candidate. 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 I lost to the worst.
It's crazy. The teachers are. I'm married to a teacher. My deceased wife is a teacher. They have every problem coming to them. We have to make sure that every single child does in fact have 3, 4, and 5-year-olds go to school, not daycare, school. We bring social workers into homes as parents to help them deal with how to raise their children. It's not that they don't want to help, they don't know quite what to do. Play the radio, make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night.
I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know. And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup for my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people.